fear, because of a mistrust in the Lord, caused them to act in a way that was wicked, deceptive, manipulative. Now, the end goal is just, because God had already declared he would have David king. The end goal is just. But the means by which they're trying to accomplish it is unjust. So then we have to ask ourselves these questions. Do I, when I'm placed against opposition, do I trust God? If there is an end goal, if I am a businessman and I'm a Christian and I want my business to function to the glory of God and I'm placed against opposition, do I trust God for the results? Or do I manipulate my own vices and my own way about doing things like the world does? Because after all, I want to glorify God. In relationships, do we function that way? Do we think about those things? Or do we just, we're so used to just doing stuff. Do we just do stuff and don't even think about whether God honors it or not? But the Bible is going to tell us what God thinks about it. So the first thing is, unjust means always originates from a misplaced trust. Trusting in something or someone other than God. The second thing is, unjust means is wicked in its scope and its intent. It is wicked to the core. We talked about wanting to know the root of by any means necessary. It is wicked, it is ruthless, it is to the core, because it does not consider others. It only thinks of self and self-goal. So if I have this mindset that, as long as I reach that end goal, I don't care what I do. It is wicked. Because in your actions, you're manipulating, you're deceiving, you're conniving, and you're killing. May not be physical killing, but you're killing. The third thing is, unjust means is blinded by its own misjudgment. Unjust means is blinded by its own misjudgment. Look at verse 8. Now when they came into the house, as he was lying on his bed in his bedroom, they struck him in the belly and killed him and beheaded him. And they took his head and traveled by way to Arabah all night. Verse 8, then they brought the head of Ishbosheth to David at Hebron and said to the king, behold, the head of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, your enemy, who sought your life. Thus the Lord has given my lord the king vengeance this day on Saul and his descendants. They were blinded by their own misjudgment. Listen, they were blinded by thinking that their just end justify the means in which they accomplished. Did you all see that? They kill a man, take his head, bring it to David, and says, look at what the Lord has done. See what that self-blindness does? When we don't trust God and we take matters in our own hand, thinking that we're doing something right because we're focused on the end goal, but the means in which we're carrying it out is unjust. Because that's what they did. They get there and they said, we got your enemy, man. We took care of it. Listen, if David wanted that to happen, he could have been taking care of that. But as we're going to see, David does things God's way. He trusts in the sovereignty and provision of God. They had a misjudgment in thinking that a just end justifies an unjust means. They had a misjudgment in thinking that God approves of it. Look at what he says in verse 8. Behold, the head of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, your enemy who sought your life. Thus the Lord has given my Lord the king vengeance this day on Saul and his descendants. God, listen, God has used us, to kill your enemy and bring you his head. See how not trusting God, what it does, the road that it leads you down? Not trusting him and making decisions based on your own vices, your own thinking, your own decision making. But that doesn't matter, right? As long as the goal that we're seeking is accomplished, it doesn't matter how we accomplish it. So then, verse 9 through 12. David answered Rechab and Baanah and his brothers, sons of Rimmon, the Beerothite, and said to them, as the Lord lives, who has redeemed my life from all distress, when one has said to me, behold, Saul is dead, and thought he was bringing good news, I seized him and killed him in Ziklag, which was the reward I gave him for his news. How much more when wicked men have killed a righteous man in his own house? You see how deceptive, conniving, manipulative that is? Now listen, this is treason. Because they were Ishbosheth's commanders. The very men that he should have trusted the most. They turned on him. Why? Because it wasn't about him. It was about them and their reaching their goal. You see where unjust means the road that it takes you down? When you focus so much on the end goal and not how you're going to get to that end goal. You see what it means when you don't trust God and the Lord Jesus Christ in your decision makings, when opposition is come against you. Instead of trusting God, we take matters in our own hands. You see where it leads you down? And David is letting us know right here that God does not approve of it. You know, 2 Samuel reveals the character of David all throughout this passage, all throughout this book. It highlights some character points of the person of David. The same thing happened as David proclaimed. When Saul died and was killed in battle, and the guy who brought Saul's stuff to David was the one who killed him. He thought he did something good. He thought the end goal was something good, but it was not. It was wicked and it was evil. Instead of him trusting God, he took matters in his own hands. And when we, listen, when we carry out unjust means to accomplish a just end, God does not approve of it. I'm going to close with this passage. It's in the, it highlights something about David in 1 Samuel chapter 30. I'll read it, verses 1 through 10. It kind of encompasses this character of who David is. It says, "Then it happened when David and his men came to Ziklag on the third day that the Amalekites had made a raid on Negev and on Ziklag, and had overthrown Ziklag and burned it with fire, and they took captive the women and all that were in it, the women and all that were in it, both small and great, without killing anyone, and carried them off and went their way. When David and his men came to the city, behold, it was burned with fire, and their wives and their sons and their daughters had been taken captive. And David and the people who were with him lifted up their voices and wept until there was no strength in them to weep. Now David's two wives had been taken captive, Ahinoam the Jezreelite, and Abigail, the widow of Nabal the Carmelite. Moreover, David was greatly distressed because the people spoke of stoning him, for all the people were embittered, each one because of his sons and his daughters." Listen to what it says. "But David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. Then David said to Abiathar the priest, the son of Ahimelech, 'Please bring me the ephod.' So Abiathar brought him the ephod to David. David inquired of the Lord." Do you see the difference? David was faced with opposition. The end goal was to get his family back. And not only to get his family back, but to get his men's families back. And he didn't take matters in his own hand to accomplish that end goal, did he? What did he do? He went to the Lord. And he trusted in the Lord. He sought out the Lord. He strengthened himself, in the Lord.